Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you doing today? I am super excited to be with you all. This is our last business planning class for 2022. So I am pretty excited about sharing with you today. So let me drop a note in the chat and let me know what city you are visiting from. What city are you joining us from today? Houston. Okay, cool. Awesome. So I like to start training with sharing with everyone who I am. I know several of you know me, and that's why you're here. But my name is Tiffany Hicks, and I'm the CEO of VRE Training Solutions. And I am super excited to do some business planning, give you some tips today. So I'm going to share with you why we developed this particular training. So as some of you know, some years ago, I was actually a presenter for SCORE, which is a mentorship program here in Houston, as well as for SBDC. And one of the things that I noticed was people were entering cohorts, going to different technical assistance places such as SCORE, SBDC, and their entire goal was to figure out how to put together a business plan. And what I identified in all of those programs was people were learning the hardest way possible to build a business plan. And the hard way to build it is to put together 27 pages, right? It is very intimidating. It makes people feel like it's almost impossible to do. And so I started over the next couple of years making some decisions of talking to bankers, being the program manager for several banking cohorts for business owners, and really identifying what is it that investors and bankers actually want to see on your business plan. And then also, what are the other things that you could use a business plan for so that you could understand the value of taking some time or investing some money in putting together a business plan for you and your business. And then the last thing that I identified is most business owners will put together a business plan, but the problem is their follow through. They are not accountable for the plan that they put together, and they also don't follow through and actually use the plan to move their business forward. So that's the point to rocking your business plan, tapping in with you, giving you some tips, showing you how you could write a short business plan, and then also helping you with follow through and being responsible and accountable for what you have put together. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here's the agenda. I'll give you a couple seconds to check that out. We are going to do a warm welcome, and then I'll talk to you about why small businesses fail. Yes, you may know some of these things, but I also want to say that it's very possible that you know it, but you're not building planning in place to keep you from failing in that way. We'll dive into the 7 tips, and then we will review the 2-page template. I'll open it up for some questions and answers, and then also we will end or wrap it up with a success quote. So thank you so much for joining us. All right, so I already told you all who I am, but it's important for you all to know that you can develop a 2-page business plan, and it'll change the trajectory of your business from struggling to profiting. A lot of people are making money in their business, and that is excellent. The question is, are you still making the same amount of money that you've always made? Or are you at a place where you're stuck or you're stagnant? Or maybe you don't know how to get started. But for sure, the way to being profitable is to plan it. You're not going to accidentally become profitable. You have to plan to profit. So we have a way that we can show you. Yep, it's just 2 pages, and it can change your life if you allow it to, and if you make a commitment to following through with your plan. All right, so I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to ask you to think to yourself, what is the major reason that you believe businesses fail? From your experience, from people you've known, from things that are happening around you. Drop a note in the chat and let me know which one of the small business failures do you believe exists the most of the ones that you see on the screen. And while you're doing that, I'll list those. So starting for the wrong reasons, poor management, insufficient capital, location, lack of planning, overexpansion, no digital footprint, and they didn't seek expert assistance. Right? Of those, tell me which one you believe to be that. Okay, so Crystal says lack of planning and Shelley says poor management. All right, and then okay, Shelley says lack of planning. So I'm going to share with you all that there are two items that are the highest on the list. You are correct. The first one is lack of planning, right? More so actually executing the plan. Right? Because if you have a plan, but you don't execute it, it's still lack. And then the other one is insufficient capital. Insufficient capital. And so when I say that, you have to consider that capital is something that is driven by the revenues, driven by sales, driven by, are you planning? Are you putting a sales strategy in place? Are you marketing? What are you doing to drive revenue in your organization so that you can have some sufficient capital so that you can grow, expand, or pivot at any point? So we'll talk a little bit about these quickly. So starting for the wrong reasons is really simple. A lot of times people start a business because they are pushed into it because they need to generate revenue, because they need to make money. Maybe they've been laid off, or perhaps they, are shifting their career focus. But starting for the wrong reasons is to believe that when you start a business, you're going to automatically have a financial windfall. Right? Or starting because you saw something and someone told you it was get rich quick. There's so many people jump into real estate because somebody lied to them and told them that they can start making $1 million in a year. And that's not necessarily true, especially if you are dropping into real estate, like you're just now learning it, just now getting your license. It takes a moment to build that because real estate is a business as well. So if you got into your business thinking it was going to either save you from something, it was a get rich scheme, that's the wrong reason. Poor management, well, we know that lots of businesses fail because of poor management. What I will share with you is that if you are a poor leader as the CEO of your business, then I can almost guarantee you that you probably have poor management underneath you, because your employees will follow your example in management. And then the other one, like we just talked about, which is lack of planning. So if you want to know more about the other failures, we can talk about that because it does come up a little bit more in the training. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. So number one, when we talk about business planning, there's some things that we have to do. A lot of people don't want to think about this, but the truth is you have to get out of your own head. You have to, to do a business plan, you have to, one, trust yourself. You have to know that whatever it is that you thought to be your business vision it can be accomplished. You may have heard more often that people will say the more ridiculous your idea, the greater the chance it is that you can accomplish it, because a lot of people don't think that kind of big. They stop at medium or mediocre or small. So I want you to think as big as possible. That's how you're going to shift your mindset as you build this business plan. So as part of signing up for the class, you will receive a business planning journal. And in that business planning journal, I encourage people, also in the workbook, I encourage you to think through what is the biggest plan you had, right? So you want to retrain yourself from thinking small and in a niche way, right? And I say that because you don't need the niche until you have taken the idea as big as it could grow, right? And we'll talk about niching as well when we talk about target marketing. But right now, you want to retrain yourself to think as big as possible. What is the greatest thing that you could do with the business that you want to start? How many people could you help? How many communities could you impact? How many business owners could you make a change for, right? So I want you to think about that. Think about like when you were a child, there was something, as kids, we were encouraged to believe that we could do anything if we put our minds to it. And then at some point in life, we got conditioned based on our experience to train ourselves to draw back or scale back our idea so that we could do something safe, so that people don't make fun of us, or so that we don't fail. There's so many different reasons, but all of those things cause us to get in our own way. It causes us to overanalyze things. It causes us to think too much. And then we'll slip into avoidance, right? Because now I've blown something out of proportion, made it so big that it almost feels like it is so gargantuan that I can't handle it. And then trying to scale it back makes it difficult. It is as simple as you envision it. So when you sit down and you're by yourself and you're thinking to yourself, before you invite the world into your thoughts, and before you invite your experiences, your previous experiences into your thoughts, what is your big idea? What is that? And how much could you get paid for that big idea? Right? You can do research and find out what the average cost is or average pay is for something, but I challenge people to ask them, is that where you want to be in the market? Right? Do you want to be a Walmart in the market, or do you want to be like, let's say, what people might think Target is, right? Or if we use wireless companies, do you want to be a Metro in the market, or do you want to be a Verizon in the market? I'm not talking about service offerings at this moment. I'm talking about your cost. What do you want to charge, right? And then as you think about how much you want to charge, I want you to think about what kind of quality and experience do you bring to the space to command the cost? Because there's nothing wrong with the bigness of your idea. The concern is the bigness of your idea aligned with what you're charging? And is it also aligned with the value that you give? And then the next thing is, does it match your effort? We can't put a high ticket price on something and then put in the minimal effort in the beginning. So thinking as big as possible, and then being as excited about it as you were when you were a child, when you were about to embark on a new adventure. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to suggest that, or please, I'm going to ask that, put in the chat, what is your big idea? What is your big idea? What is your big idea? And I will challenge you, don't be worried about sharing your idea here. Your idea is going to be so big that here's the thing I want you to think about. If your idea is that big and you haven't started doing it, chances are the person you share it with is not going to do it either. This is about individually really knowing what is the biggest idea that you have. So I will share mine with you all as you are typing. And I expect that I'll get some amazing ideas that you all will share. But my big idea, and I even started this back in 2016, and everyone told me it was too big. My big idea was I wanted to open a training facility that not only was a community center, but also that training facility offered training for corporations, training for associations, and also offered training using virtual reality and augmented reality and gamification as a way to deliver education and training. I wrote that in my business plan in 2017, and I have been actively doing all of the things to move my business there. And so what does that mean? That means that I ultimately want to turn training into something that everyone uses in a way that entertains and educates. And that is very, very possible because a lot of us don't know it, but every day someone is training you something, right? Every day you are training yourself for something. You are learning and unlearning and relearning. So again, you are learning and unlearning and then relearning. And you're doing that every day in your life. And really, that's training. You are training yourself. It just depends on the resources that you use to get yourself from point A to point B. So I am waiting for at least one big idea. Once I get one big idea from someone, somebody share it. You don't even have to spell out the idea. Just tell me what's the outcome. the big outcome. Okay. Okay, I love that. I love that. So Crystal says, create a mechanism by which over time, Black power and Black empowerment takes over this country. That is a big idea. And it is definitely something that you can accomplish, right? So thank you for thinking as big as possible. Shelley says that I'm still working on the idea, but she knows that it will be related to nonprofit and a nonprofit consortium. Shelley, I challenge you to tell me, what is the outcome? So what is the outcome that you want the consortium to have on the audience, on the people who will attend? Because that is your big idea, whatever outcome you want them to walk away from. So just letting you know that it's really important for you to consider the big idea. And here's why. The big idea is where you will go to. It's the natural thing. So here's the thing. If you keep the idea small, you're going to work small. If you keep the idea big, you're going to constantly remind yourself that I have to get over here to this really big thing. And this big thing requires these steps. And that's what a business plan is about. So we'll go to item number 2. And that's know your competition. So when I tell you to know your competition, I don't mean to know your competition in a way that you continue to overthink what you have and don't have. I'm saying that knowing your competition is a tool, and that tool is to benchmark. So if you know the people, I tell people, you benchmark what your offering is, you go out and see what's in the market. That's what every good business owner does. You don't just unilaterally believe that you're the only person offering a good service. There are lots of people offering exactly what you offer, and you're competing with them. So the question at this point is, if you're going to compete with them, how do you identify where you fall in the market? So if you're a coach, or if you happen to be a realtor, or if you happen to be a nonprofit founder, that's great. Where do you fall in the market? Do you fall as a person who is affordable and wants to help people that may have limited funds? So you may not fall high in the market in pricing, but you also have to identify that if you're not going to charge a lot, you're going to have to do higher volume. If you're in the middle of the road in what your offering is and you believe, right? So you're not affordable, but you're also not expensive, you're average and in the middle, then the question is, what does that look like? And then if you are offering some pricing that is a higher ticket item, that's great. Now, where do you sit with the competition as it relates to your pricing and the value that you set in the market? And the way that you find that out is by actually going out and knowing your competition. And it's very easy. You don't have to know all the competition. You should have a good idea of who you're competing with. I think that you should definitely know the top 10. But what I will share with you is, if you know the top 10, pick out 3 that you benchmark. And you want to benchmark the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? You want to go out and look at who is killing it in the market that you admire, that you say to yourself, hey, you know what? I would buy something from them. Or you have bought something from them because they were good. It was a coaching program, and now you are building a coaching program, right? Go out and find the good people, the ones that are marketing themselves well, the ones that are communicating with matter. First of all, go find your good competition that has your target audience. Go find the competition that has your target audience, because you can use that as a case study as you are building your business and your business plan, right? Go find out how they're having that conversation with that target audience. Go find out how they're marketing to them. What is their pricing? You know, how are they growing? If they're big enough, you can actually do research and find out what kind of revenue they generate. Right? Find out what their blueprint looks like, not so that you can emulate it, but so that you can use it to identify that this is the bar, that I either want to set the bar at my service being here or beyond, here or better. And why do I say that? Because when you are, so that's the good, right? Then we're going to go to the bad. Go find someone that's in the market that you have either engaged with or you've read the reviews and you know that they are not killing it. Like there are a lot of complaints that are going on. People are saying how they didn't get what they asked for. What does that look like? And how low of a standard did they set? And then the last part is the ugly. So the ugly is they're doing it well, but it doesn't necessarily look like what you think it should look like, right? So how many of you have ever seen somebody killing it in the market, but it doesn't look good? Like it doesn't look like $1,000 item that you would want to buy. It looks very simple, maybe rudimentary, but it's good and it gets the point across, right? That could be the ugly. I feel like I am currently rocking myself through an ugly phase right now, right? Where I'm giving really great information, but it's not all necessarily as branded as I'd like it to be. The message is we're working on the clarity of message, right? So we're moving from ugly to good, right? So how many of you have ever seen a person in your industry where the marketing for it didn't look as you thought it should? Give me a thumbs up or an emoji if you've experienced that. I know that I've bought several programs that I paid a decent amount of money and I was like, man, they did that. And it was very simple. It didn't really look like a lot, but it was really good information that I really learned from, right? And so you have to challenge yourself to understand that your first iteration or first phase of whatever you roll out for you, it's not going to look perfect. It needs to just be done. There's someone out there making money right now because they got it done. There is time for you to grow from ugly to good, right? As long as what you're offering is not bad, as long as you're not setting the bar low and the information is not good, that's what you want to focus on. Now, the next thing you want to know about your competition is those three people, the three companies that you choose, or the three, whatever you choose in your industry to find as your competition, what you want to consider is their SWOT analysis. Yes, you're supposed to do a SWOT analysis for yourself, but you want to do one of your competition too. And it is find out their strengths. When you're doing the case study, researching them. When I say case study, I'm using that because that's what it's called in the market. I'm not suggesting that you sit down and type out a case study unless you want to, right? Because a case study is actually really good when you're aligning yourself in the market and talking to people about who you are as you looked at the benchmarked companies in your industry. But the point is to identify these things and at least journal them. So what are the strengths of the good, the bad, and the ugly? What are the weaknesses of the good, the bad, and the ugly, the opportunities, the threats, and then we are going to update this to have an additional T, which is trends. Okay, so go look at what your competition is doing, and then you want to think about whatever opportunities that you see or wherever you see they have a weakness, that is your opportunity you can leverage that. If you see a weakness in their model, in their sales, and how they talk to their consumers, whatever the case may be, use that as your secret sauce. That's the thing that you will use to be better than who you believe to be good, right? And then you want to consider everything, right? Really look at the competition and think about, what does their website look like? What kind of language are they using? Do they have sales funnels? Like really just write down what you observed about those three businesses, right? And then take some time to reflect that and say to yourself, how could I capitalize on what I just learned based on these people that are in the market and they are selling? And then also checking out their audience. You want to be intimate with their audience. Like, what does their audience look like? Like on average, can you tell what their audience age is? Some of these businesses will tell you their demographic, right? You can find it, especially even if you're a nonprofit, it's easy to find all that information. You can actually go out to GuideStar and find out this information. So the next is look at their marketing, very important. What does their branding look like? How are they reaching people? Are they doing a lot of short video? Are they giving away information? Are they using freemium as a model, which is freemium, meaning giving away something free to draw people in, and then that way they are, and then they're consulting and building their client book by that. Also, how did they package if they have a product, right? Packaging is very important. You have to think, I use this example. If you think about going to a restaurant, and if you paid $300 for a meal, but they gave it to you and it looked like slop from a prison, like you're going to be like, give my money back, right? So packaging is very important. How you present whatever it is that you are offering to people is really important. And then the next thing is going to be your sales strategy. I will tell you a testimony. I didn't look at the sales strategy of my competition when I started my business. I kind of just went in and thought to myself, hey, this is what I want to charge. And then I identified that I was significantly lowballing myself. And then when I went to go do the research, I was so upset. I was like, Tiffany, girl, did you price that at that? And the market is actually 3 to 5 times more than what you priced. Okay, this is why you're struggling. So having a sales strategy in place is important. But before you can do that, you have to understand what's happening in the market and what is the competition doing. So I'm going to pause here and I'm going to ask you to let me know, what is a competitor that you have that you know is good that you wouldn't mind benchmarking? One of your competitors. And this is not competition in a lack way. This is competition in a way of abundance. What competitor is out there that is currently doing a great job at what you aspire to do or at what you do? Nonprofit for newbies. Okay, good deal. That's great. Impact consulting. Okay. I know we have a couple other people, so I'll give them a moment just to see if they have an opportunity to answer. Okay. Academy of Creative Coaching. Awesome. I know we have one more person. I don't know if that person is able to add, but we'll wait. We'll put that. Danielle, if you don't mind, could you put that question in the chat for me? The question is, what company in your industry is currently, and she got it, Ambassador Relocation Services. Okay, great. So I want you all to think about this. We're going to use that as an activity. We're going to take a pause, right? I'd like for you in your notes right now to just write down, what is the top 3 things that you believe those companies do that draws you in, that makes you say that they're good at what they do? The top 3 things that they offer or do. I'd like you to consider that. If you can't do it now, you don't have to share it, but I'm going to stop. And then what I'd like to do is I'm going to give everybody 1 minute to think about the top 3 things. And if you'd like to share them after a minute, we'll come back and we'll share with one. I'll ask one person to share if they like, but I'd like for you to think about, what are the 3 things that company does that impress you the most. And starting, I'm going to put my time clock on. Starting now. All right, we are at the minute mark. Thank you so much. Tandessa, thank you for sharing. She said systems and tools, they have established premium relationships, and then they have niched, which is limited, right? So that's very good. I love that. So remember, I was telling you that people tell you to niche to create a niche, because that way you can have a much more targeted focus. I will share with you, they are correct. But what you should not do is limit yourself when you're building the big vision, right? You don't want to don't build the vision with the niche in mind. Build the vision with the outcome and impact in mind. With the outcome and impact in mind. Because once you do that, then you'll be able to more successfully identify your blue ocean. Right? You can successfully identify your blue ocean. And if you don't know what a blue ocean is, there's a book called The Blue Ocean. And I actually sell that on our through our Amazon page. And we'll drop the link for that in if you want to go and purchase the Blue Ocean book. But it is one of the things that really helped me identify. First, you have to know big what it is that you do. And then once you know what you do in the massive way, now you can make a decision on who do you want to sell that particular solution to, right? Who are you going to target? Who are you going to have the discussion with? Now, I will share with you that even when you niche, other people will buy from you. The thing is that you pick the niche so that you know exactly how to target your conversation, because you know exactly who you're talking to, because you know exactly what it is they want. You know what their problem is. You know how your solution fits their problem. The others will come along, right? So niching is very much about who you're telling your story to, and then who you're providing the solution to that is going to have the most impact based on your solution. And then others will come along for the ride because they are seeing that you are owning that space. So Crystal shared that Black owned and engaged diversity recruitment of super talented and competent professionals. They create a network of varying services, and then also they created their own roadmap and curriculum. So I really like that she added that and the details. So I appreciate that. Also, if you didn't have a chance to share, I hope that you did the activity, because that's very important. It is important because by you outlining those things, those 3 things, you have just now at this moment set the bar. And that bar is, at minimum, you have to do these 3 things in your business. At minimum, you have to figure out how to do these 3 things in your business, right? So I'm going to challenge you one more time to tell me one thing that you believe that company could do better. One thing that you believe that company could do better. And I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to think about that, starting now. Okay. Customer service and client relationship could be done better. So now, Crystal, you have benchmarked that not only are these 3 your minimum, like those first 3 that you mentioned, you absolutely have to incorporate those in your business, but you also know that for you to be better than them, you have to have a customer service and client relationship process that is stellar. Right? So I want to make sure that everybody understands how quickly we did that, but that is part of planning, right? You can use the data points that you already currently have and interweave those into your plan so that you can not only build what you consider to be the best in class, the minimum, but also capitalize on the areas that you see that they can work on and also add more. Okay. So Shelley, when you say a more defined audience, can you elaborate on that a little bit for me, if you don't mind? And no rush. I would love to hear a little bit more. When you say more defined, I'm wondering, do you mean that they have more of a niched audience that they speak to as it relates to the nonprofit sector? Or do you mean, I just would love to know more about that. All right, so let's go to step number 3. All right. And before we talk about risk and threats, which is a huge, huge, huge thing, right? I want to I want everybody to practice taking a deep breath. Take a deep breath, like just breathe in and let it out. Here's why. We just got finished doing an exercise that was very positive, that you all did a great job at. What I would like to do is move into something that is the exact opposite, right? So this might feel very heavy, and it may feel like, this is the part that I struggle with, right? Some people really do struggle with handling the risk and the threats that exist in their business. So just one moment. I am going to go off camera for just a second. And before I do that, I'm going to ask you all to do me a favor. I want you to think about the number one risk that exists in your business. Even if you haven't started it, if you're aspiring to start, if you're growing or expanding, whatever it is that you're doing, tell me the number one risk that you believe exists in your business. And if you will put your answer in the chat for me, that would be great. And there's a method to my madness. Some of the reason why you are putting the answers in the chat is because you are actually building your business plan right now. You just don't know it. And you'll see it once we get over to the template. But these are the hardest parts of the business plan. So I'd really love for you to consider. So we have one person that says competition and undervalued. Okay. Good one. Thank you for your vulnerability there. Anyone else? Anyone else? I'll wait for one more before we move on. Not enough sustainable clients. Okay, that's a good one. All right, thank you very much. So let me share this with you. When you start thinking about risk and threats, that's very critical to your business. We actually talked about the fact that small businesses fail. A lot of times small businesses fail because they don't consider the risk. They don't consider the threats that could happen to their business. And I want you to think about this. If you have not built a business plan or developed a business plan, and the risk or the threat actually happens, how do you recover? How do you know what to do next? Because if you don't think about that, then you're being reactive. And the truth of the matter is, we already know that being reactionary in a lot of situations causes you to fall behind, and ultimately could even be the death of your business, right? Some of the companies that you have mentioned, the reason why they're not good at a certain thing is because they're probably being reactionary. Because you think about it, if they were being proactive, then this is something that they would have thought through, had a good process for, they would be evaluating the process, they would be doing it better. So let's talk a little bit about risk and threats, right? The very first risk that a lot of business owners have is that they expand too fast. And I say that because one or two of the companies that have been mentioned here, I do know for a fact that that is exactly what happened, right? They grew too fast. They have an excellent product. They sell a lot of that service. And the problem is that they don't have enough team to man their customer service. So thinking about how fast are you expanding? Are you building a business plan where you expand in phases? Are you building a business plan where you're saying to yourself, I really can only handle 10 clients a month until I bring on more team or until I build in more system? Are you actually growing through that? Are you saying, you know what, I can handle this, but in order to handle more, I'd have to train someone to do what I do, or I'd have to hire a sales team, or I'd have to hire a virtual assistant, right? So be very cognizant of how you want to expand so that you don't expand too fast, because if you scale too fast and you cannot handle the capacity, it's one of the things that could be critical to your business. The next thing is your supply chain. Right. So think about your business and who is involved in the life cycle or the customer cycle of your business. And the question is, are you really deploying a supply chain that's reliable? And then also the next question is, what do you do if something happens, if there is a break in your supply chain? Do you have someone readily available to move back into that spot? How are you fortifying the business that you're growing so that whatever part of the customer experience that could be impacted, you have a backup plan? You have what your next go-to item will be, whether that is a new supplier, whether that is a new vendor, whether that is, whatever your policies and procedures are. How will you process or navigate through that? And then also, what happens if something happens in the market, right? Before the pandemic, there were a lot of coaches that were seeing people in person. They were relying on training coaching programs in person, and lots of people were not comfortable with doing lives or doing video or being on Zoom. And so the truth of the matter is that was a market disruption. They had to pivot. The question for you would be, if there is a downturn in the market or in the economy, how are you pivoting? What are you doing? And I don't mean, are you lowering your prices? I mean, what mechanisms and systems are you putting in place so that if the market does get disrupted, you could use the material and what you already have and repurpose it in a way that doesn't stagnate your growth or cause you to fail. Also, your competition, right? A couple of you mentioned that competition might be an issue. Well, I would share with you, if you know that that's your risk, build out the plan now. If you know that competitors is your biggest risk, build out how you will be competitive. How will you outcompete? Or how, and even if it's not about the competition, maybe you don't care about being competitive with the person, because I'm not a big competitive person. But what I will share with you is I have a personal best desire. And I feel like my personal best at the time has value to others. I just have to learn how to be nimble. I have to learn how to pivot quickly. I have to learn how to say, hey, Tiffany, that was your personal best last month. What will your personal best be this month? Because that's how you're going to keep the competition on their toes, but that's also how you're going to keep the competition from usurping you. And then talking about cybersecurity, not enough small business owners care about their cyber health. And we are growing to a space, especially when we talk about virtual reality, reality, when we talk about metaverse, when we talk about augmented reality and AI, there is going to be so many more things. Like right now, the whole world is happening on the internet. But the thing is, what does your intranet looks like? Are you securing your client information? Are you securing your data points? Are you securing your social media, your website? That's very important, because keep in mind, no one wants a business that sends something out to a client and then they're the reason why their client's stuff shuts down, right? That's a liability. So that naturally brings me to liability. So when I talk about cybersecurity, what do I mean? Consider getting an IT person. Consider when you are building your plan, including cybersecurity in your business expenses, and then also liabilities, right? So understanding what are liabilities that could potentially happen in your business. So for me as a trainer, if someone comes to a actual in-person training, is the space covered just in case they slip or they fall? For coaches, people like to sue coaches behind that what they believe to be advice given or direction given. In real estate, even in nonprofits, right? This is liability insurance is necessary, but you also need to think through, first of all, in your industry, go research it. What liabilities exist in your industry and in your space, and what do you need to do to cover yourself from that? So I'll give an example. I have a friend that just recently had something catastrophic happen at her space, and she has business insurance. So thank God for that. So yes, she's worried because her business may be down, but understanding that if you pay for business insurance, there is insurance that will cover if your business is down due to some type of liability or accident or any of that. So just considering what those are and making sure that you are budgeting or making an expense line item to be able to cover those. And then also attrition. So attrition can be up and down. Attrition for your business could be that you brought someone in and they're doing so much better than what they were doing, and now you are graduating them and developing them into a new position. And then attrition can also be because people have left your company. There's nothing you can do about it. It's going to happen. The question is, number one, are you securing your information? Number two, do you understand that people will come and work with you and then aspire to do something else? What is your plan? What is your process? How do you handle those things? That brings me to, how do you handle promoting someone or developing someone and moving them up, but then also making sure that you are able to train the person that will replace them? Next thing, when you have to hire someone as a replacement, what does that look like? And then lastly is going to be your business exit strategy. So I tell people that exit strategy is definitely not just closing your doors. Exit strategy is understanding that you could build your business in phases and departments and pieces so that if you needed to sell off a part of it to become liquid, you could. What does that mean? So I'll use the hardest example for myself right now. That would be coaching. So if you are a coach, imagine if you created your coaching practice where you have a book of clients. And then imagine that you also built a program on how to be a specific type of coach. And then the next thing that you did was you built a database of resources and e-products and things that you have put together. What if you decided that you no longer wanted to build this specific type of material and you licensed that material instead to others, or you sold off that piece of the business so that you could start working on another coaching project that is still near and dear to you, but it goes in a different direction based on what your platform is and the language that you want to use and share. So I want to challenge you to understand that exiting the business or exit strategy doesn't always mean closing your doors. It doesn't always mean shutting, selling everything. It could also be merging with someone. It could also be that you acquire something and then you exit out because maybe you have brought on another CEO. Exit strategy could be that you keep the business going, but you are no longer acting as CEO, right? So I'm going to take a moment here to pause and And I'd love for you to ask, what questions do you have about what I shared, or what aha moment might you have had in talking about the risk and the threats? I'm all about the aha moment. So what aha moments did you have in this section? Okay, migrating from operations to consult as my exit. Yes, awesome. Keep in mind, everything that you are doing, you are building a system. The way that you do something is valuable. The way that you do something is valuable. There's someone out there that doesn't even know how to do half of what you do, and they are willing to pay you for that solution, or they are willing to be in front of you for you to use that as a tool to gain what it is that you're looking for or that you need. So you always want to be documenting your process, whether it's your failures, whether it's your challenges, whether it is your celebrations. Document all of it. How did you navigate through it? That is also the reason why we are offering a business plan journal. Depending on what you purchase, you'll get a workbook, and you also make it a business plan journal, because you really want to write out exactly what it is that you're doing. Disruption is very important, Shelley. It's important, especially for nonprofits, and here's why. When you're a nonprofit, there are going to be times when people don't give. Like now, we're in an economic downturn. People are really holding on to their pockets. They may not be donating as much as they have. Or you could look at it from a perspective of, there are more people in need right now. So there are more organizations that are impacting the community. So now it's more competitive, right? So more giving is happening, but maybe it's more competitive. You have to look at it from the 3 feet, and then what is that, 30,000? I think it's like 3,000, 30,000 feet, but whatever. You have to look at it really close, but then you have to also look at it from far off, because two things can exist, and they can be polarizing. That's okay. The question is, have you thought through that spectrum and what you would do in that space? All right. So Crystal says transferring business to offspring. I totally understand that. That's great, especially if that's something that your offspring desire to do. I will share with you that even if you are transferring it to your offspring, the question is, how do you transfer something to them that, even if they decided that they wanted an exit strategy, right? What would that look like? They may have a different dream. They may want to do something else. Maybe they want to be the CEO of it and grow it to match more of what their coaching strategy might be, or whatever the case may be. So just looking at, what does that look like? So if you transfer it to your offspring, what tools are you giving them so that they can be successful, and so that they can either carry on the vision or add to the vision? And definitely letting them know what risk exists is very important. All right, so let's go to the next option, the next tip. Tip number 4. Financials should be conservative. So I'm always talking to people about financials being conservative. Yes, I do believe that you should think big. What I will share with you is that you need conservative financials when you are building your business plan, because here's the thing: you don't want to overvalue your business, because a bank and investors, that's the first thing that they'll see. They'll actually ask you that. Why did you evaluate or value your business here? And the numbers don't make sense. They don't add up to what you evaluated or what you value the business at. So you want to start by being conservative. So what I will share with you is that business planning is very much a faith walk. It is understanding that the numbers don't exist yet. They're imaginary, but they are imaginary numbers that you plan to manifest into existence. So start conservative. I am not saying start low. I am not saying to lowball yourself. What I am saying is that you must put in the research. It doesn't take that long to go search and find out how much people are getting paid on average in the market. It doesn't take that long for you to go look at the people that you say you admire and find out how much they're charging. Some of you already know that. Now the question is, do you want to be competitive in the space? Do you want to charge what they charge, or do you want to charge more? If you want to charge what they charge, then you already know what the benchmark is. If you want to charge more than what they charge, then you understand you have to give added value, right? And so you already know what that is. Now it's your secret sauce, which is the thing that they are not doing well at, right? So ask yourself, how do you price that? What does that look like? So you want to remember that it's an estimate. You also want to consider that production cost should include everything. When you are doing your business expenses, you literally have to put everything in, whether that is your travel, whether that's, whether it's your miles. And now the cost for mile per mile is like 62 and a half cents. If you are documenting your development, all the things, right? So we have a business budget that we can also add in the toolkit, because we're putting together a toolkit to offer to our students. But there's a business expense that you can do. But it also means that you need to determine your own personal expenses, because you need to know, what do you need to walk away from with? Like, if you know that you need $10,000 to cover what you need, then the question is, do you understand that for you to bring in 10,000, you're going to probably have to make 30,000? Why? Well, because you can't bankrupt your business every month, and you need to be able to show in the business plan that not only can you take care of operations, you can take care of paying yourself, you can also take care of reinvesting in the business. That is very important, because investors and bankers want to know how you're going to scale and grow the business. How will you become profitable? How will you increase revenue? So if you use 10,000 as the benchmark, understanding that 10,000 would go to operation, 10,000 would pay you, and then 10,000 would go into reinvestment. There's so much more that I could say about that, but I will just tell you that understanding pricing strategy and how to grow your business and how to use it in that way, it is very, very helpful, because what it does is it helps you keep currency flowing in and through the business. And then also consider acquisition costs. So how much is it costing you to acquire a customer? How much energy are you putting in to your advertising, your marketing, your discover calls, and all of that before you actually bring a client in? And then once you bring that client in, how much are they paying you? That's very important. And then lastly, hire an accountant. Even if it is just for the business plan, for you to sit down with someone and say, hey, here are my financials. This is what I know. Can you help me get to a point where I can identify what my strengths are here in my finance and what my weaknesses are? Maybe even talk to a tax strategist, talk to a financial planner, right? Or talk to a professional like me that could sit down and talk you through your pricing strategy before you actually go to your accountant. And then also building in a sales strategy as well that we mentioned. So making sure that your financials are conservative. I will leave you with this last thought. My mentor simply said, all your financial statements have to do is make sense. Someone has to be able to look at your finances and clearly be able to say, they charge, this is what they do, this is what they charge, this is the revenue they bring in, and this is how many people they are intending to sell to, and this is the revenue they plan on generating. And then you just have to go out there and live the plan. But the finances have to make sense, right? That's it. They just have to be realistic. Any questions before we move on from tip 4? We are at the halfway mark, and I am going to pause here just to ask everyone, please drop in the chat. What do you want to make monthly? If you are thinking as big as possible, right? And realistically, what do you want to make monthly? before, just spot thinking about it. What do you want to make monthly for yourself to bring home in your business? Tell me what that is, what you would like to make monthly. Don't be afraid. 12 to 15K. Okay. Monthly. Good job. Anyone else? We're not talking about the effort that you have to put in right now. We're simply talking about, if you thought as big as possible, what is the monthly amount that you want to bring in that is realistic for you? And do not lowball yourself. $14 net. 10, 15K, 25K. Okay, awesome. So I want you all to think about this, and please write yourself a note. What could I do to earn 3 times that amount? I want you to think about this. We're going to pause here. I'd like for you to write 3 things that you can offer that could get you to the amount that you want times 3. 3 things. Okay, so we have offer to client or business improvement. Tanzessa, what is that? Is that what you're going to do? So you're going to offer to clients or business improvement, or are you asking me, is that what you're, clarify that for me, Tanzessa. Oh, asking me. Okay. So yes. So the question is, what are you going to offer to your clients that will allow you to make the 14,000 net that you mentioned times 3? What are you going to offer? It's up to you. If what you're offering, if the value is business improvement, if that's the value, so that's great. Like, if what you're going to do is you're going to offer people a way to improve their business, that's great. What does that look like? Right? So how do you do that? I guess is more what I'm saying, right? So Crystal says Google advertising on social media, engagement with other organizations, and then hiring a business developer, right? That's awesome. So that's the 3 tasks that Crystal can do, right? She's going to do those things in order to drive revenue. Crystal, the next thing I'm asking from you is, what are 3 things that you're going to offer? Like, what is your business offering? So I'm glad that you saw that both ways, right? So I want to be clear. Thank you all for making sure that I clarify that. So I'm asking for 2 things. So the first thing is, what will you offer in product and services to achieve 3 times? That's the first thing, right? So what will you offer? What product or service? What will you offer in product or service to achieve 3 times your monthly freedom number, which you already provided? And then the next thing is exactly what Crystal put. What are 3 things you will do to achieve the number? And when I say do, I mean task you will perform. or delegate. Everybody with me? So there's two things you are writing down here. What product or services will you offer? And so when I say that, I know that you may offer coaching, but I also want to make sure that you understand that if you're offering coaching and you want to make $75,000 a month, that's a lot of coaching. Do you have enough time for that? And if you don't, then that means that you need to have a higher ticket price, because we even talked about how many people can you handle? So if you have to make 75,000, then the question is, how many people could you handle? And if you can only handle, let's say you can only handle 8 clients, right? So let's just make it simpler. Let's say that you can only handle, I should have given a better number. If you can handle, let's say you can only handle 3 clients. I'm gonna just make it real simple for myself. If you can only handle 3 clients, and that means you need each one of them need to pay you $25,000 a month, right? So the question is, is it feasible to get someone to pay you $25,000 a month for coaching? Yes. I mean, there's some programs out here where people are doing that. Are you prepared for that now? And if you're not, then you'll need to diversify your wheel. You'll need to say, okay, I am going to offer coaching, and I'm going to have to make space for, let's say, 5 clients. And those 5 clients total $25,000. That's $5,000 each, but I have another $50,000 that I have to make, right? And how will I make that $50,000, right? That $50,000 might not be individuals, that might be offering group coaching to a company, right? It may also be authorship, selling books, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about revenue wheels, but I'm really asking that you think through, number 1, what are you going to sell? And then number 2, what task are you going to do? What are you going to sell, and what task are you going to do? You need to know these things, you all, so that you can price yourself appropriately in the market. So how many of you have had an aha moment when you thought through the amount that you want to bring home, and then you think through multiplying that times 3, and now you're thinking through, what will I offer? And then now you're saying to yourself, what must I do to get there? How is this helping any of you? And if it is, give me an emoji on the screen. Thumbs up, heart, celebrate, anything. Just let me know that you're still rolling and rocking with me. Thank you, Tanzesta. If you're not rocking with it, let me know. Tell me what your questions are, where your hesitation is. I take all feedback. So I'll pause for a minute for everyone to digest and share with me. Thank you, Jordan, for the emoji. You either love it or you hate it. So let me know. If you hate it, let me know. Tell me what I could do better. Tell me what I could explain a little bit better before we move on to tip number 5. Thank you, Shelley. All right, so I'm getting that you all are enjoying it and you are learning something. And please make sure that you are writing notes that you can go back to that will help you be able to follow up and be accountable for the process. So let's go ahead and go to tip number 5. Tip number 5 is, if you are writing this business plan, whether you are writing it for yourself, or you're writing it for a bank, or you're writing it for an investor, or you are writing it for your team, it is very important that you understand, or that you share with people, what is the return on investment? And why am I saying that? Return on investment for a lot of people could be that they're investing time in helping you grow. It could be that they are investing time in helping you with cross marketing. It could be that they are investing time in sharing resources with you so that you could grow, right? what is the return on their investment of their time or their treasure? That's very important, right? So thinking about that. And what does that look like? Well, it needs to be simply explained, right? So I tell people this all the time. We spend a lot of time in college or high school and college, secondary education, with them telling us to meet a word count, with them telling us to meet a page count. What I want you to do, throw that out the way. What I want you to keep is the research tools that you learned. Right there, you learned how to do a Boolean search, or you learned how to verify or fact check. You learned how to go out and support your idea by finding other leaders in the industry that have done so and had results, right? Keep that, because that's important. It's important for you to show people that you have the research skills to go out, research your product, your service, your industry, all of that. That's important. Right? But you also want to bring it back to your business plan, or even bring it back to your content in a way that is a simple explanation that people can clearly understand. Don't get your word count up really high. Make it simple. The other thing is, you have to start learning how to build in the value and benefit of everything you put together, whether it's your business plan, your business, your products, your services, your nonprofit, the community engagement and involvement. What is the value and the benefit of what you are bringing to the market? That's very important. And you're doing that because you want to have confidence. You want to confidently understand when you present to a team, a bank, or an investor, that this is the value that I bring to this industry and this market. And this is why I command this price. And this is also why I'm going to be successful at it. Right? The next thing is describe the maximum impact that you're going to have. I say that because when I asked you to dream big and think big, I also want you to think through, how many people will you employ? How many markets will you exist in? Will you be global? Will you be national, right? How many businesses will you impact? Have you decided you want to help 1,000 business owners, 1,000 coaches? Do you want to be the top 10, one of the top 10 sought after executive leadership coaches? What is it that you want? And what is the maximum impact that you're going to have on your audience? And then don't over embellish the numbers, right? Again, this is about, it has to be realistic. It has to make sense. You can't say that you want to be one of the top 10 coaches in the industry, and then we go look at your prices and your prices are like 2,000, and then the top 10 people are 20,000, and then somebody's saying, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. It needs to make logical sense. And it's okay to have the bigger vision, but then make sure that everything you're doing under the bigger vision is realistic and it matches where you are and it matches the conversation you're having. Most importantly, it has to match your impact and the value and the benefit that you bring, right? So you say you have all this value and this benefit, but you're only charging $500 in a space where people are charging $5,000. Somebody's going to ask you, why is that so? And then next, hire a financial advisor, right? Hire an accountant, hire somebody to sit down and talk to you about what your numbers look like. If numbers is not your thing, delegate that. Sit down with what you know and talk to a person that can help you plan these things, because it is a big part of your business. And if you don't understand it, the worst thing that can happen is the bank explains it to you with a hard no. Right? There's a lot more things that we can add here, but that so we are also offering a business cohort coming up where we are literally teaching people these concepts and really how to sit down in the classroom in an intensive way and get these things done. So next is understanding your audience and your customer. So I do want to pause. Could we go back one slide? I wanted to share one other thing. So for item number 5, I also want you to consider, we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but also consider your audience, because the return on investment could be different based on who you are presenting your business plan to, right? And we'll talk more about who your audience is, but that's very important to understand that ROI and payout options are important. When I say payout options, I mean, if someone is if a bank is funding you, have you factored into your financials how you're going to pay the terms of the loan, right? Another thing, if you're a nonprofit, if you get a grant, have you factored out how you're going to distribute the funds in your programming in a way that makes sense, right? The next thing I wanted to share about payout options is, if you're looking for investors, literally, your payout options could be whatever you want them to be. You need to do some research. You literally could go to investors and say, hey, I'd love for you all to invest, but I can't pay you back until 5 years. And I can't start any payments until 3 years. And here's going to be the rate of what you will be returned. Here's the dividend that you will get. Right? Here's what you will see until 5 years. And then at 5 years, we will pay this out in a tiered way. There's no right way or wrong way to do it. You need to sit down, figure it out, and then pitch it. There's somebody that may like what you put together, right? There's no right or wrong. There is an audience that accepts it and an audience that's like, yeah, no, that's not for me. Then as you go along, you may have to make some adjustments to get it right, but start now understanding that there's different ways to fund your business, many different ways. All right, tip number 6, understand your audience and your customer. I will tell you that this is honestly one of the biggest fails that I believe most business owners suffer from. And this is how they end up being in the space, because they didn't plan for their audience. They really just put some stuff together and said, this is what I love to do. This is what I want to teach people, without really going out to find out how those people like to receive that information. Because you could desire to give somebody something, but the truth is, if you're not giving it to them the way they need it, it's not going to work, right? And I will share with you that I have been doing business planning for a very long time. And for years, I have wanted to do business plan training. But when people would come to me, they would pay me to do their business plan. And I was so low priced that I was taking on work. I was very unhappy, and I wasn't angry with my customer. I was angry with myself because I lowballed myself, because I was choosing to do something I didn't want to do. And so I said, okay, Tiffany, how do you get back to that space? Well, first I had to understand my audience, and I had to understand that there's a specific audience that doesn't mind going to a training class. They are people who desire to develop. They are people who will sit and say, I have this information because I desire to know more. But there are also people who will try it and then say, you know what, I'm not sure if I'm doing this well. Maybe I will pay to have someone do it with me. And then even though I have a good understanding, I will pay for someone to do it, because at least I am involved in my own process for the future. I can fish, right? So you have to understand your audience. In all things in your business, you need to understand who you're selling to. You also need to, and so keep in mind, when I say selling, I mean all selling. I mean, who are you selling your product and service to, and who are you pitching your business to for them to fund it or for them to give you a grant? What does that look like? Who is that person, and what kind of conversation do you need to have with them? Is the conversation you're having landing well? Because often we have conversation, we're in corporate, and then we go try to have corporate conversations with business owners who haven't been in the employee space for a while. Or we try to have a corporate conversation with a business owner that is still stuck in employee mentality, but they don't understand that this corporate conversation is about you building a corporation. It's about you taking what you know from corporate and applying those principles so that you can grow your business. So who are you presenting your plan to? Who are you positioning yourself in front of? Know them intimately in a way that you know exactly what kind of conversation you should have with them. One, about your benefit, your value, and your impact. And then two, about how they will pay you and honor you for the knowledge that you bring to the space. Then next is, what problem do you solve, right? Understanding how are you solving the problem, and are you putting your solution in front of the right audience? Very important. So a CEO or a chief exec and an executive officer at a corporation may want a much different solution than a small business owner, right? A employee at a corporation may desire a much different solution than an employee at a really small business, right? So really understanding what problem do you solve and who are you putting it in front of. And it's okay to solve multiple problems, y'all. It's also okay to solve multiple problems at different price points. The question is, are you leaving enough time to service the higher price point with your presence? And the lower price points, are you automating those and putting them in processes and systems that will help you get those lower price point things out to people in the way that they need, so that that doesn't use all of your time? I am a component of virtual assistants. My virtual assistant is here with me today. She is the leader of the Spring Solution. And I tell people all the time, having a virtual assistant is the most amazing thing in the world. She and I collaborate. We collaborate on how do we bring business owners into the knowing of they need an assistant, and then how do they choose the right assistant to get them where they need to get, and actually automating and putting your systems in online business management is what Danielle is best at. Why am I saying that? Because when you get to the point where you understand your audience and your customer better, you have to start putting things in front of them in the way that they desire to digest the information. And sometimes you're not able to do that yourself. You need partnership, you need collaboration, you need to build your team. And so how do you get to knowing your audience? Like, what's the best thing that you could do to get to know your audience, right? The best thing that you could do is create an avatar. And what that means is you actually sit down and think of, what does this person look like, smell like, where do they go, what do they do, how much money do they make, who are they, and who are you selling to, and then what's your why? So I'd like to pause here and ask for everyone to give me 3 characteristics of the person you would like to sell to most. And when I say that, I mean 3 characteristics about them, because they are the person who will pay exactly the dollar amounts that you believe you need to get to that financial freedom number that you discuss. So somebody put 14,000, which times 3, whatever that is, 25,000 times 3, whatever that is. What is a characteristic of a client or customer that would help you by paying that amount? Tell me who they are, and I will share with you mine as well. Okay. So here's the question. What are 3 characteristics of the customer that will pay you your value and desires the service or product that you have? 3 characteristics. So I gave 3 of mine. My 3 characteristics is they are leaders in their field. They are also passionate about development, and they also are community oriented. Okay, so leaders in their field, passionate about development, and then community oriented. Why does that matter? Because it is much easier for me to go and research leaders in fields. First of all, what fields am I interested in? I'm interested in education. I'm interested in real estate. I'm interested in health. I'm interested in, construction, like whatever field you're interested in, right? Go find the leaders in that. And then also development. Who's passionate about development? Well, you can go research people. You can tell if a person is passionate about development because they are buying developmental things. What does that mean? They're reading. Right? They may be listening to YouTube videos. They might be listening to podcasts, right? They are passionate, or they may be going to conferences, right? They are joining associations. What does that look like when people are thinking about developing, whether it's personal, career, or whether it's business, right? And then also, I love to engage with people who have a community component because that's who I am. I'm really a community-based and generated person. I am encouraged by that. So I also want to look at people who maybe they have a philanthropic side. Maybe they're charitable. Maybe they are people who give a lot to people who are underprivileged or may live in a marginalized area. That really matters to me. So a lot of you, so I have some other things. Tanzesta says a solution oriented person, an intentional person, an honest person. I challenge you all to take what you have put and then say, where do you find those people? Right? So Jordan says results driven, tough, and honest. Crystal says leader in the nonprofit community, leader entered into corporate and social responsibility, and then open to team and self-improvement. And then Shelly says heart for community, driven and learning to willing to learn. So my next question is this: where do you find those people? Where do they go? Where do you find the people that have the characteristics that you are looking for? You find them at the library? Do you find them at retreats? Do you find them on social media? If so, where? Do you find them at church? Do you find them at other nonprofit organizations, board meetings? Where do you find those people? So I'd like for everybody to just dig really deep and tell me one place where you believe you can find your people. So I'm sharing with you where I can find my people. I can find them at development centers, which I've been doing, and I'm going to do more communicating with different development centers, not just in Houston. I'm going to expand my reach. And then also pitch competitions. People, if a person is entering into a pitch competition, they really want to develop themselves. Because pitch competitions is hard. You have to learn a lot. You have to plan a lot. You have to organize. You have to practice. You have to hear feedback. You have to not be okay with some of the things that you hear and then figure out how to fix it. Those are the exact kind of people I'm looking for. So I want you, Shelly, I love that you have nonprofit organizations and nonprofit events. I'm going to ask you to take it one step deeper. Give me some specific type of events, because that is very, very broad. Give me some specifics. Just dig down one level deeper. All right. Crystal says leadership and development conferences, seminars, and workshops. That is very specific, Crystal. I love that. Very specific. And if you notice, that wasn't a reach for you. You were already in that headspace. Like you're like, this is what I already needed to do anyway for me. Now I can do this because when I do it, it's multifunctional. Right? That multifunctional is, one, it develops me, and two, it allows me to find others that I can develop. That's easy, right? Easy peasy. So Shelly, tell me, okay, United Way, networking events and workshops. Got it. I understand the networking events. I want you to continue to go deeper and focus on the specific places, right? So even with Crystal, what I'd like for you all to do outside of this is write down the actual networking event. Go find it. You can find a networking event in another city, use Eventbrite. Do a search, right? Tanzesta, I'd love for you to consider how many networking events in other cities do you want to do? How many are you going to do per quarter? Let's say you say 2 every quarter. Great. Go find them. Put them on your calendar right now. Get it done. Those could be milestones, and we'll talk about how that fits in your business plan. Next, Shelly, with United Way. United Way has some absolutely amazing things that you could look at. They have the Blueprint program. The Blueprint program is really where they actually look for people to come in and they teach them how to be great board members. And then at the end, they have this, they have an event where people could come and set up a vendor table and actually interview people to be on their board. But you also have to be vetted. United Way also does amazing events where you know exactly what their focus is, right? Because they tell you what their mission is. So they invite other people to come and support their mission. Shelly, I happen to know you focus on finance. So my question is, are you collaborating with banks? Right? Because we know that that's what banks do. Banks offer, they would support that. They would sponsor that. So now the question is, are you going to banking networking events that they are supporting? Because guess what? Your clients would be there. Right? So just considering that. Crystal, I'd love for you to go a little deeper. And I know you've already started this process, but very specifically, how many conferences do you want to go to? How many workshops, right? Do the same thing I suggested for Tanzesta. Like, how many do you want to do? How many per quarter? Go look them up and commit to 1 or 2 now. That doesn't mean you have to pay for it now, but you can commit to putting it on your calendar. You can commit to working through the financial aspects of it. What will it look like? How much is it going to cost you? Right? Next thing is going to be, all right. So in Jordan, I haven't seen anything. I thought you put something. Hold on. Nope, I did not see one for Jordan. But Jordan, if you will put what yours is, I will give you some suggestions and feedback on yours. So are all hearts clear on understanding your audience and your customer? And how are you feeling about understanding your avatar? Did this particular activity help you with having a clearer understanding of who to look for, what characteristics you want them to have, and how to go get them? If the answer is yes, give me an emoji. And Jordan, while you're giving me emojis, Jordan, I see yours. You have FEMA meetings, events that are federal, as well as state agencies. Absolutely. So now the question is, where do those things happen, right? And and find out if there are some virtual ones, right? So that you can attend them in other states, because you could literally help people nationally. And then the next question would be, what are those, right? So for you talk about disaster, Jordan. So the thing is, you could also be going to development centers in the area, because a lot of development centers have a disaster recovery program. Remember, any development center is going to be the first to get resources, because they've already contracted with the government to be a place where people come to provide resources. Especially if you're a nonprofit. That's the next question, right? Like, are you engaging with the government about financial planning as it relates to families in marginal areas? And right now, the government is guaranteeing the city of Houston I think it's 10 million or it's $10 billion for infrastructure and advocacy. Well, advocacy could be education and coaching. Advocacy could be that you're helping nonprofit founders very specifically in the coaching. For you, Shelley, advocacy is nonprofit, right? Tanzesta, you do real estate, right? So even if you educated on certain things, right? So just asking yourself, how can I proactively exist in the market according to what is trending in my market? All right. Thank you too for the emojis. I appreciate it. Let's go to step number 7, and we are doing well. All right. Step number 7, get professional help. I'm not going to beat that up. Y'all already know. Like at the end of the day, there's only so much that you can do yourself. So I tell people that there are all kinds of experts that you can get. You can get a mentor, you can get a consultant, you can go get an accountant, you can get an attorney, you can get an advisor, you get a content developer, get a virtual assistant, like whatever it is that you need. Write that down. So my exercise for this is I challenge you, write down the thing in your business that you absolutely have to do. So if you are the principal coach, you absolutely have to do that until you have written out a program to teach people how to coach how you coach, so you can build a team that can go do it when you're not doing it. But until then, you absolutely have to do it. For right now, I have to train, because I am the principal trainer for my company until I have completed the build out of my program, which is Train the Trainer, to teach people how to be high energy and thought-provoking trainers as I am. And I'm getting to that, right? But the question is, what is it that you have to do? Because you have to understand, you don't have to do all the other stuff. You have to do the things that generate the revenue. Right now, training, me being here today generated the revenue. I got to do that. But I also need some help with that. That also means I had to step away from, yeah, Tiffany, you not finna send no emails. You need an assistant to help you with that. Okay, Tiffany, you are definitely, probably not going to have enough time to go and update these materials. Have your assistant do that. Next step is I need a sales team. I need people to go out and start selling the training for me. Right. Another thing that Crystal mentioned, I need to do some Google advertising to draw people into my website, but that's not for me to do. That's for my web developer to do. So the question, and you might say, how can I afford to pay for that? Don't do that, because you can afford whatever you want to afford. There are lots of things you can do. You can give your time, or you can give your treasure. You could become someone's apprentice, offer a certain amount of hours. You got time for everything else. Why not have time to grow your business and be in a growth strategy space? Why not gift your time to someone to learn something from them, and then give them what you have, and make sure you put that in a memorandum of understanding so that no one feels like they're not getting what they asked for, right? The next thing that you can do, you can pay for it, right? So you can either gift your service in exchange, or you can pay for it, or there's so many places you could go to get things for free. Just know you're not going to get everything in the free space. If you go to SCORE, you go to SBDC, you're going to get what you get. You have to learn how to take a little and make a lot out of it, or you could do a combination of all the things that I mentioned. Why not go get a mentor that's free to give you direction that you can use, and then build on that by going to someone that you pay, and building on that by exchanging your service, and then building on that, right? You see what I'm saying? So really think about, how do you get professional help in your space in a way that helps you grow your business? And how do you look at all the things that are happening in your environment that could help you be a better business owner, a better coach, a better person, right? So that is the end of the 7 tips. I'm going to take a moment and ask that you tell me one tip that really changed your mind and shifted you into a different thought space of the 7 tips. And Danielle, if you could go to the next slide. So every day is a new opportunity to reach your goal. Rick Ross. right? Very important. Rick Ross to me is like the epitome of one of those business owners that has been diversifying and doing so many things and really using the heart of who he is and repurposing, building revenue and doing all kinds of different things. But he also has a community feature. He gives back often. He talks to business owners quite often. So that is really, really important. So share with me one of the business tips that really impacted you today, that you know that you can move forward and use as the basis for you to have some follow-up. And then the next thing that we will go into is the template. So if we can go to the next slide, please. All right. One of the things that I want, and I'll wait for you all to drop the tip that worked the best for you. All right, so drop the tip that worked the best for you today. I really appreciate the feedback. I have feedback from 2 people. I would love it if I could get that feedback from each person that has joined us today. So one of the things that you're going to get as a result of being in this amazing training is a checklist. I'm not going to go over the checklist today because I want you to take a moment to take a look at it. It may seem overwhelming. It is not. It is simply just a checklist to let you know that these are some things that you could include in your business plan that would help you have the best showing of your business, right? And so we'll give you a chance to peruse that. The next item that we'll go to is next page. So as you can tell, that particular business business plan checklist, it is very comprehensive. It literally has every single thing that you could possibly put in your business plan. Do you need to put all of them in the 2-pager? No. What I will share with you though is this. If you have $1 million idea, so when you talk about that big idea, the huge one, the biggest one you want to get to, that $1 million idea, you very well may need to put together a 27-page business plan, but you don't need that right now. All you need right now is to actually get your business moving, right? And so for that, we're going to suggest 2 pages. So one of the things I'd love to do is I'd love to start with considering this. Remember that I mentioned to you that you really just have to have a really good description of your business, right? So a vision, a mission, and then I remember I talked to you all about what is that unique thing that you're going to do, right? So somebody tell me, this is a quick pop quiz. Where can you find that unique thing that you're going to do? We talked about it today in benchmarking, right? How can you figure out what makes you unique in the market? And I'm going to pause for a second and give you one. I'm going to give you an option to make sure that you share with me the thing that you gained today. That was the aha moment for you. That was the best about the tips that I gave. And then also I'd like for you to share with me the answer to where will you be able to find your unique value based on what we discussed today. Okay, no answers. Are you guys still awake out there? What's going on? We need to do a stretching activity. So thank you very much. I see that all of you gave an answer about what it is that you found to be the best tip. So that makes me extremely happy. Now, remember, we talked about when you benchmark, You're going to go find out what the competition is doing well. And the thing that you have identified as their weakness or opportunity is the thing that you can capitalize on. And that could be the thing that you use to make yourself unique in the market. Does everybody see how I tied that together? If you do, drop a yes in the chat, or drop a 1 in the chat if you see how I tied that to the business plan. Drop a 1 in the chat if you see how I tied it. Awesome. Thank you very much. So looking at the template, right? The very first thing we're going to do is, of course, you're going to put, I'm going to start with the template from it's on my left, so left to right. And we're going to talk about what's in the margin first, right? So of course, you're going to put your name and your title, your phone number, your email, your website. If you don't have a website, that's fine. What you have right now is enough. What you have right now is enough. Remember, this is about getting done. It's a 2-pager. This is about getting done, not perfect. Next is, we'll talk about your strengths. So remember, I told you to do a SWOT analysis of the competition, because I'm always looking at business planning in a different way. If you go look at the strengths of your competition, it's easier for you to say to yourself, aha, you know what? That's a strength of mine too. Okay, cool. I can write that down, right? So the thing is, you want to think about what your strengths are. What do you believe to be your strength? Maybe it is your experience in the market. Maybe you got 25 plus years experience leading people. That's a definite strength, right? Maybe you have a team that is amazing, right? That helps you build capacity and progress and grow, right? If your team is your strength, big that up, because I know for a fact that bankers and individual investors will give you money based on the strength of your team. They will give you also money based on your strength or your expertise in the market. So whatever your strengths are, you only need 2 to 3, and you want those strengths to be tied to why your business will be profitable. They must be tied to the finance. They must be so they either have to be tied to the profitable piece or a great impact, right? So if you have the ability to create jobs and grow a community in that way, that's a strength. If you have the ability to produce financial literacy in a way that can help families increase their monthly income by 25%, that's a strength, right? What does that look like? Put that down. Next is your weaknesses, right? You have to clearly understand what your weaknesses are. And you'll notice that in this template, Danielle, could you make it a little bit bigger for me? Is that possible? So never worry, you all will get this template, but just to share with you that you want to put 2 to 3 weaknesses and you want to be honest. Okay. The reason why you want to be honest is because the bank is going to find out anyway. They're going to know, right? So if the case is that you're lacking capital, please put that. They're going to know that anyway. If the goal is that you need to grow your team or you need a market, that fine, put that. There are some banks that will, if they see that your planning is good, they will give you a loan for marketing, because the point is you are trying to get money to market the business to increase your profits. If you show them where that investment in marketing will yield the results that you say, they'll loan you the money. You just have to know how you're going to pay it back, and the numbers have to make sense. Also, if you're investing in back office systems, that's important. Banks and investors will help you pay to improve or increase your effectiveness and efficiency. The other thing that you also want to consider is that it's okay for you to say right now that you don't have the team that you need, but the reason why you are going to the bank for a loan is that you have a contract and you need to employ people. So you got a contract, but you need to bring the people on to help you build the capacity to service the contract. That's also an opportunity for banks to fund you, as well as investors. So we're not going to talk a lot about a business description because I'll be honest with you, you should know the description of your business. If you want to know how to write it, make it simple. Remember, I said, this is not about the long flowery words. This is about you researching what you need, getting to the point. I suggest that you write down some bullet points. What are the bullet points that you want people to know about your business? And then figure out how to write those bullet points into 2 to 3 sentences that clearly describe your business. Be concise. Right? You want to know who, like, you know, it's important for you to share who you are, like who your business is, what the business does, and who you serve. That's very important. And then the mission and vision, everyone knows what those things are, but what I want to share with you is this. Your vision is the big picture. Your vision is that big thing that we talked about, the thing that you said that this is as big as possible for me. That's the vision. That's the big thing. The mission is how you're going to get there. The mission is what steps are you going to take to make the vision manifest? And then your unique value proposition is how you're going to do it uniquely in the space. Any questions? I want to know if that was clear. And I want to make sure that you all are tying some of the activities that we did to how we are here in this space in the business plan template and how it would help. Give me a 1 if it's clear, or a 2 if it needs more clarity. Awesome. Thank you. So I'm not able to see it as well, but I want to make sure that you know that you are going to get a copy of this document, and it is fillable. So know that what the template that we send you is fillable. So you'll be able to type in even some of the things that you did today. I want to pause and suggest that you save the chat. My suggestion for you saving the chat is because then that way you can literally just pull the information that you put in today's activity out and paste it into the fillable and then adjust it as you go along. That was the point. The point was to actually navigate you through some of the answers that you might actually need to put into this template after today. So next, let's go to the next page for the template. All right. On the left, opportunities, right? So let's talk a little bit about opportunities for collaboration. A lot of you have already shared with me where you can actually go to get your clients. Those are opportunities. That's opportunity, right? So an opportunity is that Crystal says she's going to go to conferences because that's where her target audience is. Great. Not only could you go there, but Crystal, what would that look like if you partner with them? What would that look like if not only do you go there to develop yourself, but then next year you become a speaker at that conference? That's a collaboratory event. Same thing for you, Shelley. Same thing for you, Tanzesta, right? Maybe you also have an opportunity to turn your expertise into not just a coaching, but how to consult coaches to do what you do. Right? How could you collaborate, make connections, build resources that would work in your favor for you to be able to grow your business? Also, don't forget, you did a SWOT analysis of your competition. What opportunities did they have that you know you could capitalize on and make better? Right? And some of those things you answered today. So next is going to be threats, right? We are going to add to the template the second T, which is trends. And we'll make sure that we get that out to you. But we'll talk about threats first. Threats are... Well, we'll pause. I want to pause for just a quick second. I want to pause here because I really would like to see on a scale of 1 to 5, how do you feel about transferring some of the, with, I'm sorry, 1 to 5, with 1 being the lowest, you don't feel capable, or 5 being the highest, meaning you feel empowered to transfer some of the information that you've learned today in the activities over to the business plan template that we're going to provide you on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being no, I can't, I ain't got it, girl, and 5 with yes, Tiffany, heck yeah, you done helped me and I can get this over there. Crystal, 3.5. Talk to me about what I can do to move that from a 3.5 to potentially a 5, or maybe 3.5 to 4. Tell me a little bit about why that is at 3.5. You have additional questions, or you have, oh, okay. Okay, so you're, oh, additional, okay. All right. Understood. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the threats. Remember, we actually literally did an activity where we talked about what could threaten your business, and you all entered something in the chat to tell me exactly what the threat might be. A couple of you said competition. A couple of you said that there may not be enough sustainable clients, right? So just understanding that that can be translated directly over here. What's important for me to share with you is think about the things that might not be as obvious as you think, right? Think about and go do a little bit of research and find out, you know, like typically what threats happen in your industry. And then I want you to also think about, you know, like what other thing doesn't happen very often but could potentially happen. And I want you all to think about this, the economy is cyclical. So it's not if we're going to have an economic downturn. Some of us have lived through 2 or 3 of them. The thing that's important for you to know is that you're probably going to have one every 10 to 15 years anyway. How do you build for that? How do you build your business knowing that, yes, you're building in an economic downturn, but eventually that's going to turn around, but then eventually it's going to come back again. So what do you do to plan for that? And it doesn't have to be heavy. It has to be simply that you situationally be aware of that. And why am I sharing that? One of the biggest things that we offer as a company, we offer risk management training, and we also offer a situational awareness training where we really talk to business owners about how can you be aware of where your business is financially, in marketing. How can you be aware of all the things so that you can make your plan more robust as you build it, right? How do you identify what could come up? Well, first of all, how do you identify what you're doing wrong right now? Are you overthinking? Are you underthinking? Are you giving too much effort to the wrong activities that are not revenue generating? Are you being cheap? Right? What is it that you're doing? How are you aware of your situation in a way that you can identify that and then you can overcome that? So the next T is trends. And trends is very, very simple. The trends is really about having a clear understanding of what's happening in your market. And you do need to know that. What are some trends in coaching? Very specifically, what are some trends in leadership in coaching? And even more specific, trends in leadership and coaching in the nonprofit space. That's for Crystal, right? For you, Tanzesta, what are the trends in the real estate market or in the market that you're in that can help you? It could be a technology trend, right? Right now, AI, virtual reality, augmented reality, all of those things are huge. That my business has made a plan to go into the metaverse because I see the potential there, but also I've been there since 2010 when I worked at Samsung, right? I helped them release their first Oculus. So for me, it's a natural for me to go to a place that I already knew we were going, and it's not difficult, and I see the trend. right? So you also may want to consider that automation is taking away a lot of jobs. What are you all going to do about that? How are you going to stay aligned with automation, but then how are you still going to offer jobs to people so that they can assist you through the process building, the systems building, and managing the automation, right? So trends is very, very important. I'll give you another idea, a thing to think about. When we talk about trending, quiet quitting is a trend. When we talk about trending, DEIB strategy is a trend, right? I mean, most companies say that they're going to implement it. It's a buzzword, but they don't actually do it. What if you do it? What if it's a trend that you actually entwine or integrate into your business culture? The next thing that I would share is that crowdfunding is huge in the nonprofit space and in the for-profit space. There are people out here doing crowdfunding for their for-profit idea. They are raising funds and they are doing it in the community space because they have some type of social impact that their business participates in. So trending is very, very important. Just also for you, Jordan, wraparound services is very important. But now a lot of nonprofit organizations and for-profit organizations are benefiting from having a wraparound service on the back end, which is called technical assistance, right? So are you coaching? Are you providing survival kits? Are you giving evergreen information that people could easily access? Are you putting together a call, not a call center, but are you putting together a hotline? Like, what are you doing that could give major value, that could be a trend in your area, that automatically address things that would trend? Right? Last thing I want to share with you, when you talk about your social media, go and Google what is trending. Right? Find out what's trending in your area, what hashtags are trending, why. Everybody's on their dang on social media. And if they're on it, or even if they're on their website, here's the thing, go find out what keywords are trending, because that's the kind of stuff that you need to be putting in your content. What's trending? How can you talk about it? How can you add it to your expertise and show that you have credibility? And I'm over by just a little bit, but I'm almost done. So I will share with you. The next thing is to look at your objectives. Just one moment. All right, so objectives. This should be really easy. We have short-term, midterm, and long-term objectives, and I used to only have short and long-term objectives, you all. But what I've learned is a trend is midterm objectives or goals. And here's why. Often your short-term goal is really something that could take you up to 6 months. Right? And then long-term goals are usually things that are 12 months or more, a year or more. But the question is, what are you doing in between that? What are you doing from month number 6 to month number 12? And those are some midterm goals. And what I want to share with you is you want to look at opportunities to celebrate. So when you put objectives down, you want to put objectives down that are SMART goal objectives, right? Meaning that everybody knows what SMART goals are. You hear about it all the time. If you don't know, please go and research that. But I'm sharing that with you because you want to make sure that it is realistic. Right? So you really, really want to understand, like, is this something I can measure? Is it realistic? Is it going to be timely? Can I drive some results? Like asking yourself those questions. So only put down short-term goals that that you could hit within 6 months. If it's a goal that's going to take longer than 6 months, that's okay. It can be midterm and then long-term. What I challenge you is this. Just write the goals down. Don't make them short, mid, or long. Write them down first. What are the goals? And then once you have looked at the actual goals, ask yourself, by when can I accomplish this? And if you say, you know what, I think I could do this in 3 months, well, it's short term. If you go, you know what, I might be hard pressed to do this in 3 or 4 months, then it's midterm. If you know that the idea is grand and it's where you want to be, but you're not perfect, you can't get to it yet, it's going to be 12 months out. And that's okay, because you can build your business in phases. And the other part is consider your short-term, midterm, and long-term goals. Those are milestones. Those are the milestones. Be really clear on what the milestones are. Where you're going to hit a milestone, what's going to be the big impact. You need to know that, because whoever's investing in your business, whether it's time or treasure, they will want to know too. All right, let's go to the next page. Everybody, if you don't mind, drop one objective of your business in the chat, just to make sure that everybody's still with me. One objective in the chat. And Danielle, while they are dropping one objective in the chat so that we can determine whether it's short, mid, or long, if you'll go to the next page for me. All right, so if you'll drop those in for me, we are wrapping up. We are almost done, but I'd love to see name one objective that your business has. One objective. To secure 2 to 3 community partnerships. Shelly, based on that objective, tell me, do you believe that to be short-term, mid-term, or long-term? How long do you think it'll take you to secure those 2 to 3 community partnerships? Short-term. All right, good deal. A few months. Awesome. So here's what I want you to consider, Shelly. Now that you know it's short term, when you have a moment, I want you to sit down and go back to the things that you said you needed to do, right? I want you to think about what tasks do you need to do to get to that short-term goal. Same thing with you, Crystal. Your objective is to execute 4 contracts for coaching services. Question is that short-term, mid-term, or long-term? How long do you think that's going to take for you to do it? And then again, go back and look at the steps that you said you needed to take in order to accomplish that. Jordan, same thing, right? You think it's short-term. What steps, right? Awesome. Prepare financial with accountant to analyze the number. Okay, that is short term, definitely short term, right? And then the steps that you need, Tanzessa, we'll still go through that, right? Sit down with the number 1, pull all your financial things together that you have. Don't overwork yourself. What do you have? Pull it together, right? Talk to the accountant, ask them, what do you need? Plan on how to get those things together. Let them sit with you with what you have. Let them consult you on what you need, and then have a clear understanding of where you go from there. So thank you, Jordan. Jordan said that I've already provided him with the steps that he needs. So I do business consulting with Jordan. And so I'm thankful that he is here today. So just to share that I also do business development, and I also share a lot of ideas on how you can go and what steps you can take. So thank you so much, Jordan, for supporting me in that way. I appreciate it. All right, so here's the last page of the business plan, and we are wrapping it up. And what I'd love to share with you is that consider the core, and we're still going left to right, consider the core values of your company. It is very important now that we understand the kind of culture that we're going to build. One of the things that I've identified is that some businesses grow, and the bigger they get, the worse their customer service or the worse their culture becomes. Companies will tell you that they have a specific culture, and then you get there and they really don't. So the question is, how will you be better? How will you take what you know and what you understand is lacking in the market, and how will you set a standard and a set of core values for your organization that you train everyone that comes through your organization to participate in? So if someone at your organization, Jordan, participates with you or anyone from your business, they should find that the markers for the core values of what you established are there across the board. This means you need to train. You need to train your team on your core values. But before you can do that, you have to identify what they are, and you have to actually be living in them. One of my core values is high energy, right? I woke up this morning so ready to talk to you all, so excited, right? But then also, I believe in transformation. I literally train this class a lot different from the last two classes because I want to get better. I want to present a best version of myself every time I interact with my audience. And this time I decided to incorporate walking you through activities that could lead to the things that you could put in the 2-page template, which makes it easier for you and gives more value. So the question is, how will you be valuable, and what values do you stand for, and how do you make sure that you are implementing that throughout your team, or even throughout your messaging, or even throughout the service that you present or you offer? And then next, we talked all about target audience, y'all. You already know, like, you got it. Like, we talked about that, and this should be easy. Go into the chat, take out what you pulled, and elaborate and build on that. The next is the business model. This is very important. I want you to consider, like, are you business to customer? Are you B2B, which is business to business? Or are you B2G, which is business to government? Or are you all? The best businesses actually incorporate all of those models. Do you have to start with that? No, you don't. Start where you're at, start where you're the most comfortable, and then B2B could be in your long term. B2B could be midterm, long term. B2G could be 2 years from now. That's okay. But what does that look like for you? When we say be business to customer, that means that you just have clients or customers, and that's who you service. You're not going after businesses, right? You're not going after corporations or small businesses or doing larger contracts, right? Or you're not working with another business to provide your service. And then B2G is business to government, and government could be any entity. It could be local, it could be city, it could be state, it could be regional, it could be national, it could even be global, just depending on how you navigate through that experience. The best businesses, like I said, have implemented a part of that into all of their pieces of business, but you can get there. You don't have to do that right now, but plan it. Put it into your objectives. It should be in your plan. What does it look like, and how are you going to scale to it? What's your type of business, right? So understanding clearly what your industry is, but also understanding how are you modeling it, right? So do you have a premium version, a premium model? Do you have a luxury model? Do you have an affordable model? Do you do freemium, which means you offer something free to draw people in, and then that's how you get your pipeline built? Like, what does that look like for you? How are you modeling the business? And if you don't know, go and look at the model that the competition that you benchmark has. And then next is your marketing. So I'm a little different. I don't put a whole lot of emphasis on marketing, and I'm going to share with you why. I believe too many people start marketing their business before they even know their business. They don't even know their business model. They don't know their target audience, but they out there on Instagram with a website. Like, why are you doing all that? Why are you paying to invest money in something that you don't even know how you're going to brand it? You don't know the conversations you're going to have. You're not even really sure who you're putting it in front of. I would say marketing is important, but it is not the biggest. The biggest thing is to be intimate with your business. The biggest thing is to be intimate with your client base, because if you're not intimate with them, you don't even know how to market to them. And if you don't know how to market to them, you're not going to make money off of them. So the question is, really, do you understand your business? Is marketing important? Absolutely. But all the other things that we have talked about are much more important before you really start hitting the marketing circuit hard. So next page. All right. So, okay, freemium, that's the strategy you'd like to pursue for content. Yes, that's a great one. And we could talk more about that as well. I believe we've talked about it before in the past. So I know you noticed that I didn't put a lot there for marketing. And here's why. Most of us already are getting marketing shoved in our face all the time. We already know you can market several ways. So if you want to write these down, here's some things that you could do. You can market through doing email campaigns. You can market using your website. You can market using social media. You can do event marketing, where you go to events or you create the events, whether they're virtual, whether they're online, or they're hybrid, right? You can also market by doing I'm sorry. You can also market by going on podcasts, getting people to blog about you, doing speaking engagements, writing a book. Like there's so many different ways you can market. What I'd like for you to consider is this. What are the top 3 marketing things that you don't mind doing that are the most aligned with your personality? Because I don't want y'all out here doing things that don't align with you, because if you put that in your plan, you're not going to do it. So what are the marketing things that most align with your personality? What is it that you are willing to do that you will really go hard at? And then I want you to sit and say, if that's the things that you are going to commit to, that's great. Then ask yourself, when will you onboard the other things? Right? So the things that maybe you're not so comfortable with, because remember, in the beginning, you're doing a lot of this yourself. So what are you willing to do? Don't lie to you. Tell yourself the truth. Right? Be impeccable with your word, as they say in the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, right? He says, be impeccable with your word. And that's about not lying to yourself. So really, what will you do? Right? I know I'll do social media. I know I'll write content. I know that I don't really like doing videos, even though I'm good at it. So now I'm at the point where I've been doing all the things I'm good at. They've gotten me to a certain place, but it's also time for me to start incorporating those other things, right? So ask yourself, what are the top 3 things? If you don't mind sharing with me in the chat, what is one thing that you know for marketing that you are willing to do? One right now, the thing that you are willing to do now, or the thing that you're already doing that you're good at. Okay, Google My Business and paid per click. Okay, great job. Anybody else? My challenge to myself is to do LinkedIn Lives, post more on LinkedIn, and build a community in the LinkedIn space. So that's my goal. This is the area. So Shelly, when you say this is the area, you mean in business planning? Interview industry experts in educational video series. That's great. Okay. So Shelly, I want to understand, but social media and marketing. Great. Okay. I totally understand. That's good. So with that being said, you already know that you, so have a clear understanding that whatever it is that you say you're going to do, let's go ahead and put that down and then implement the how. So really it's about focusing on what are the top 3 things that you are willing to do. Put the task in place so that those get done, and then work on the things that you know need to be done, but you're not ready to do that. And then push yourself to add a timeline. When are you going to incorporate those things into your business? And then here's the thing, you don't have to do them. You incorporate them in your business when you are ready to delegate to someone to do it. So the things that you're not comfortable with, delegate. All right. So I don't want to beat that up. So if that was helpful, give me an emoji. If that was helpful, give me an emoji just to let me know, yay or nay, right? Or don't even do an emoji if that's hard. If that was helpful, give me a 1. If you like, heck no, Tiffany, I can't do nothing with that information, give me a 2. Okay. All right. So the next part is going to be talking about KPIs, right? This is very, very, very important, because a lot of times business owners start their business without identifying how will you know if you're successful. It can't just be the money. It can't just be that you're profitable, because there's people out here that are profitable that is jacking stuff up. Like it's people out here making a whole lot of money. And at the same time, they are not delivering what they tell people they're going to deliver. You don't want to be that company, right? So what are your KPIs? Identify the key performance indicators for your business, right? How are you going to measure or evaluate your performance? How do you know that you did well, not just the money? right? Include the number of clients, your goal for that, and include your revenue goal. What are the results that you want to drive for your clients? These should also align with your vision, your mission, and the objectives that you set. That's very important. And I challenge you to not just have yearly goals. Don't just have bi-yearly. Don't just have quarterly. Have daily. Right? You may not have to worry yourself about it daily, but if you know the bigger goal, so if you understand, I'm going to use the example that Crystal gave. If it's 25 grand, if it's 75 grand a month times 12 months, how do I reverse logistic that? What is that every week and every day, every hour? What does that look like? It's very simple. When you have the number, you can reverse logistic it. You need to know. Because if that comes out to be a gazillion an hour, what are you going to do to get a gazillion an hour? How will you have conversations with people who are willing to pay you a gazillion an hour? But you have to know that by setting the standard and setting the key performance indicators for your business. Right? And then also competition. We already went over that. You already know who's your competition. Just put 2 or 3 of those people there, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We already talked about your exit strategy, right? We put that in the activity, right? That we put that in the chat. What's your exit strategy going to look like? It needs to make sense, right? And then the last thing we'll talk about is the financials. I talk about financials last because my hope is that you will focus on them first. Right? We've been talking about financials through this entire thing. We have been putting numbers in. We have been talking about why those numbers exist, because your financials matter. Business is about finance, period. Most people, even nonprofits, are not in business to, like, nonprofits, they get money. It's just what they do with the money is different. They take the money, they put it in programming. So nonprofits really need to stop thinking about the non in front of the word. They need to think about, how am I going to be profitable so I can take this profit and put it in the community? For-profit's the same, meaning how can I take this money that I'm profiting, put it in my pocket, and also have some philanthropic, charitable things I do that I partner with so I can help people, because that's important, because that's really why I'm here, right? To give service. So financials are important. You definitely need to write down a list of different revenue streams, but I want to share this with you. When I say different revenue streams, I don't mean for you to be everywhere, y'all. I don't mean for y'all to be over here doing Bitcoin, then over here investing in real estate, then, oh, that's not what I'm telling you to do. I'm suggesting that you consider what you're good at and how you can continue to repurpose what you're already doing and send it in different distribution channels. Right? So if you are good at something, how could you write a book about it? If you're good, how could you start a product line that matches what people would need in what you're already talking about? What kind of coaching program could you put together? What kind of contracts could you get from that? What public speaking could you do about it, right? No one is suggesting you be all over the place with that whole 7 streams. I suggest that you have 7 streams that is literally driven from you being the water source. You are the source, right? And if you're the source, how do you pour into the same information, but just distributed in different ways? And then also considering your financial forecast, right? What does your sales strategy look like? This isn't just how much you need to make. We've already established that, but how are you going to go about getting it? So the next question is, what are you doing? What are those top 3 things that you're going to do to go get in front of your audience and sell things to them? What does that look like? And then also, what are your expenses? That's very important. We talked about, you need to know all of them. Everything. I mean, from the rooter to the tutor, you need to know all of the things, because often we forget things. Like I had a client that didn't even think about the fact in her hair business that she washes towels every week. Right? She didn't think about the cost for that, washing and drying, right? But she's like, well, Tiffany, I do laundry anyway. Okay, great. Stop doing laundry with the towel. Just do the towels. Right? Because that's a part of your electric bill. That's time. That's part of your service, right? I had a real estate agent that she identified that, hey, every time she goes and gets her hair done, her nails done, and goes and takes professional photos to be used all across her marketing structure, that's a write-off. right? So really understanding what are you paying out, and what do you your goal is, what do you need to bring in, because the goal is how do you cover what you're paying out and still have a profit. We are no longer breaking even. That is not the goal. Breaking even is maintaining, and we've done that long enough. The goal is for us to scale and then ultimately sustain and then thrive. And that's something that Danielle and I will be talking more about when we start rolling out our processes and systems training. So then next is, what's your profit forecast? You can forecast it. It's imaginary numbers, y'all. Put it in the wind. Say it, claim it. You are actually forecasting that based on something that you've already discussed. You already said you need 25,000 to go into your household. You already identified that you have to make 75, right? You already know the forecast. The profit is $25,000 a month, because you understand that 25 is going in your pocket, 25 is operating the business. You already know 25,000 a month is your profit. How do you get that? How do you get to that point? Also, how do you predict your cash flow? How are you setting money aside to reinvest in the business, right? So yes, you get profit, but what are you doing with the profit? Are you doing some profit sharing with the people that you're bringing on? Are you taking some of that profit and saving it so that you can use it for wise investment for the scaling and thriving of the business, right? And then next is, what are your growth margins? You can always go look up growth margins. You can find out, number one, how that market is growing year over year. And then you can ask yourself, what is your growth margin? Do you want to be in alignment with the average growth margin, right? Do you think that you're going to come a little bit below because you're building? What does that look like? Because investors want to know, what are the growth margins in your industry? And so just to let you know, financials are the most important. That's why I like to start talking about those. But in order for you to understand where your finances will go, you have to know how to think big. You have to know how to not play small in your pricing. And then you also have to understand how to have the conversations that get you to those dollar amounts. And let me tell you, that is a journey. I have been journaling about that. I've been teaching about it. And I have also been applying the same things that I'm teaching you all. And I have been tenacious in my deeds, because I refuse to give up, because I know that this is the blueprint for success. So I think that concludes the training. And I think I'm right on target. Yes, I am. So I want to thank you for joining me. If you have not had the opportunity to go out to my website, I'd love for you to do so. You may find that it will change over time, because we're about to update and do some new things on our website. But if you scan scan the QR code, it will take you out to our website. What would I like to upsell to you? If you would like to work with me to help you with actually building this business plan, doing some one-on-one with me, I'm open to that. If you are interested in just talking to me and having a consult where I can talk to you more about your business and give you some ideas on how you can grow. I know I've given a lot here, but if you'd like to expand, please let us know. Go to the website, schedule a consult with me so that I can help you with growing. And then also follow us on social media. If you're not currently following us on social media, please do so. We are on LinkedIn. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook, and then we are also on YouTube. So we would love for you to join our channels, because one, we appreciate the fellowship and the support. We are growing our numbers there, so it matters a lot to us. And I thank you very much. And so here is how we are going to end. Is this our last one, Danielle? I'm new presentation, you all. We have updated it some. So what is our next slide, or is this the final one? She said, yes, this is the final one. So I'll open it up. If you have any questions, please feel free to turn your mic on and ask. I am excited to have had this time to spend with you. And I thank you so much.